Hi! Today we're going to have another story from More Adventures in Moominvalley, inspired by the works of Tove Jansson. And this is based on the TV series. Last time we read a story of Moomin Mama's Maid, Ghost Story, and the Invisible Child. Today we're going to have Midwinter Ancestor, in which Moomintroll wakes and has a winter adventure. Midwinter Ancestor, in which Moomintroll wakes and has a winter adventure. It was autumn and the Moomins were getting ready for their winter hibernation. Moomin Papa was busy hoisting up a dust bag to cover the chandelier. Our ancestors knew what they were doing, trust me, he said. At this time of year, they would crawl into a nice warm stove, sleep through the winter, and wake up, fresh as a daisy in spring. They lived in stoves, said Moomintroll, looking at the bowl of pine needles on the table. Oh yes, said Moomin Papa, and they ate good traditional food, he added, munching on the pine needles. Moomintroll wasn't so sure. He preferred pancakes with jam. The Moomins settled down for their long sleep. Moomintroll was snoring gently when a beam of moonlight shone on his face. He suddenly awoke. Was it spring yet? He got up and went to see if his parents were awake. Mama, Papa, he called, but they were fast asleep. He looked at their clock. It was still midwinter. Moomintroll was ready to go back to sleep yet, so he wandered into the kitchen, his tummy rumbling. The fridge was empty. Disappointed, he went into the hall and opened the front door, to be faced with a solid white wall of snow. He took a handful and tasted it. Brrr, he said. Better than pine needles, but not very filling. Moomintroll burrowed through the snow and soon his head popped up outside. He was stunned at the sight before him. Moominvalley was completely white, blanketed in thick snow. Whoa, said Moomintroll. He pulled himself out of the snow hole and climbed to the top of Snowdrift. Hello, he shouted. Nothing but silence. Everyone's asleep apart from me, said Moomintroll, feeling a little lonely. Then he spotted something in the snow. Footprints! Moomintroll followed them. As he walked, the glorious colors of the northern lights danced above him in the sky, swirling and whirling. The footprints led to the Moomin's bathing house. There was a light coming from inside, and Moomintroll heard the faint sound of music. He opened the door to see a small figure wearing a striped t-shirt and a bobble hat and playing a barrel organ. It was Tiki. What are you doing here? Said Moomintroll, coming inside. The bathing house may belong to the Moomins in the summer, said Tiki, smiling, but in the winter it belongs to Tiki. She looked at the shivering Moomintroll. Cold paws? She said, as if by magic. Two thick woolly socks floated across the room and slid onto Moomintroll's paws. Is that Nini? Asked Moomintroll. No, said Tiki. These are invisible shrews. Won't you join us for dinner? Yes, please, said Moomintroll. Bowls of hot soup glided through the air and landed on the table in front of them. If they're invisible, he said, tucking in, how'd you know they're shoes? Better not to ask about everything, said Tiki. Some like to keep their secrets to themselves. There are such a lot of things that have no place in the summer. Creatures that nobody really believes in. When everything's quiet and the nights are long and most people are asleep, that's when they appear. Moomintroll nodded, not really understanding. Just popping out to get some wood, said Tiki, heading for the door. Keep the door closed. Suddenly, a banging noise came from the cupboard. Hello? Said Moomintroll, going to investigate. He opened the door a tiny crack, then a little wider. Wham! Moomintroll fell backwards as a small furry creature whizzed past him. Just then, Tiki returned with her wood and the creature ran past her through the door. It was only an old rat, said Moomintroll, picking himself up. A fine thing to call one of your own ancestors, said Tiki. That's how you would have looked 1,000 years ago. Moomintroll wasn't convinced. He said, looking out of the window at his supposed ancestor. That can't be a relative of mine. Go and get your ancestor, said Tiki. But don't stay out long. The Lady of the Cold will be out walking soon. She's a beautiful winter spirit, but if you listen to her song, she'll freeze you stiff as a biscuit. This was worrying. Nevertheless, Moomintroll felt he should go outside. Hello, he called. Won't you come back inside where it's warm? The ancestor stared at him from a tree. Come on, said Moomintroll, holding his arms open. The ancestor pushed a clod of snow onto the Moomintroll's head. Then it jumped off the tree and began running towards the forest. Moomintroll brushed the snow off crossly. Then he sighed and followed the creature into the forest. The ancestor was fast. It pelted through the forest towards the Moomin house, followed closely by a panting Moomintroll. Then it jumped into Moomintroll's snow hole and disappeared. Come back! Shouted Moomintroll, scrambling after it into the Moomin house. The mischievous ancestor crept up behind him and poked him. Then it ran upstairs into his parents' bedroom. Moomintroll, followed by the ancestor, was hiding under Moomin Papa's hat. Moomintroll made a grab for it, but the ancestor was too fast. It shot up in the air and ran downstairs into the living room, where it began pulling all the books off the shelves. An encyclopedia landed at Moomintroll's feet. He picked it up and read the first page. A is for ancestor. Oh my! He explained, seeing a drawing of a Moomin ancestor. It was exactly like the creature currently destroying the living room. It really was his ancestor. Moomintroll tried a different approach. Seeing as we're family, he said, shall I show you around the house? He put some pine needles on the floor underneath the chandelier. The ancestor immediately pounced on them. Moomintroll moved fast. He quickly untied the ropes of the chandelier's dust cover and it dropped, trapping the ancestor inside. Gotcha! He said. Let's get you back, he said, dragging the bag behind him. As he neared the bathing house, the bag suddenly felt suspiciously light. Moomintroll stopped. There was a large hole in it. The ancestor had chewed his way out and his footprints led back to the woods. I can't leave him out here, sighed Moomintroll, turning around. Snow began falling and an icy wind blew. Soon a blizzard was raging. Moomintroll couldn't see a thing. He was lost and he felt so tired. Through the swirling snow appeared a face, a beautiful woman, pale and icy. Two tiki warning echoed in Moomintroll's head. Beware the lady of the cold. The lady whirled around him, her huge, hypnotic eyes making him feel sleepy. Moomintroll's eyelids drooped and he fell onto the snow. The lady breathed on him and the snow felt like a warm, cozy bed. Then whoomp! The ancestor bounced onto Moomintroll's tummy like a trampoline. Go away! Let me sleep, murmured Moomintroll. But the ancestor was having none of it. It dragged Moomintroll across the snow, away from the Lady of the Cold, and to safety. Moomintroll woke up in a shelter made of sticks. Clearly, the ancestor had been building itself a house. A fire was burning and Moomintroll warmed himself up. He sat for a moment, thinking. Suddenly, he knew exactly what to do. Come with me, he said to the ancestor. The creature obediently followed him back to the Moomin house and into the kitchen. Moomintroll opened the door of the stove. It's a home for you, he said, to say thanks for saving me. The ancestor looked happy. It dived into the stove, closing the door behind it. Moomintroll went back to his bedroom. One last look, he said, gazing out at the view. Moominvalley in the snow was so beautiful. Moomintroll knew he would never forget it. But now it was time to go back to sleep for the winter, as the Moomins and their ancestors have always done. The end. If you like more stories about Moomin and if you like more adventures in Moominvalley by Toby Jansen, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to get more of these beautiful stories. Thank you. Goodbye.